Hey guys, Ez with Let's Look It Up. Jumping right into this one. Grand Admiral Thrawn is back. That's what we learned today. Day 2 of Star Wars Celebration. Was watching the Star Wars Rebels panel with David Filoni, Warwick Davis. They were out there talking about just some of the things that were happening. They showed a trailer, and here we go. We have Grand Admiral Thrawn. I couldn't believe it. Super stoked. And so what I thought I would do is just give you guys a little bit of background. Obviously, my first thoughts were that in the old canon, he's dead, right? He dies. He has some clones that carry on in this book, Vision of the Future. But Heir to the Emperor, or that's a Timothy Zahn series where it's basically a Thrawn series. And he's in that for, it's a trilogy. Super awesome. If you haven't read those, you need to check those out. They're still good books. They've actually brought Timothy Zahn back into Star Wars, and he's working with Story Group and with Rebels, and just talking about what Thrawn is going to be, what are his characteristics, some of his background, some of just who is he, where is he from, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of there is some stuff before in the New Jedi Order. And there's some stuff that happens with him afterwards, so in both old and new canon. So I thought I would just give you guys a quick rundown here of who Thrawn is and what's going on. All right, so Thrawn is from an alien race called the Chiss. They come from a planet, or actually, I'm sorry, they come from a place called the Unknown Region. So as you might imagine, we don't know a whole lot about the Chiss if they come from a place called the Unknown Region. Thrawn is a commander of the Chiss expansionary fleet, so he's already a commander at the point where we meet him. He's a commander in their fleet, so obviously he has some skills in combat and what have you. He protects his people in that region from slavers known as the Vagari, and that becomes important later on. Before the Rise of the Emperor, so sometime between episodes 1 and 3, Darth Sidious, or Chancellor Palpatine, sends a special task force to destroy the Outbound Flight Project. So this project is the Jedi. They have like 50,000 people. They're out expanding. They're on the outer rim to the edges of the galaxy, trying to expand. And they have Jedi Masters on there, etc. Palpatine, though, interestingly in this, he senses a presence on the edge of the galaxy. The Yuuzhan Vong, they're out there, and we don't at this time we didn't know that's what they were called, but we found out later that that's what they're called, and he senses this powerful foe, and so I don't know whether it was he really thought that would that the Jedi expansion project, or this Outbound Flight Project, would then bring the Yuuzhan Vong into our galaxy, that would be tempting for them. If he did, then is Palpatine a good guy? You know what I mean? Or is he just wanting to destroy the Jedi? But in talking to Thrawn, he convinces him that we need to stop the Outbound Flight Project, and at all costs, because it could tempt this powerful foe into our region. And Thrawn then says, he has had an encounter with one of their scout ships. Not the Vagari, they're different, they're also slavers, but so he's got two different forces that Thrawn is dealing with out there. So anyways, Thrawn's defenses see this special task force as a threat and decide to attack. He's sort of known for, there's sort of like a no instigation, they're not really non-aggressive maneuvers in their society, in the Chiss society, but anyways, so Thrawn's sort of known for initiating that confrontation, believing that he has sort of the element of surprise. Thrawn's smaller forces find several ways to exploit the weaknesses of the task force. This task force is made up of it's the Trade Federation and some of their other. It's sort of what we see in episode 2. We've got all the different people coming together that fight the Republic, and so anyways, so a pretty formidable foe, and he's able to, with a smaller force, exploit some of their weaknesses. He disrupted their communication, etc. Thrawn is then introduced by the commander. The commander that he takes from the task force does not know he's working for Darth Sidious, and he's working for Palpatine, and so he thinks that Palpatine sent him on this mission. So he's working for both, and but he decides to reveal Darth Sidious to Thrawn. So that's kind of interesting. He learns that Sidious is concerned about a powerful alien race, which we talked about on the edge of the galaxy. Sidious convinces Thrawn that the Jedi Outbound Flight Project might put all of them at risk. Thrawn makes the contact with the Outbound Flight Commander. He tries to first request that they just leave the area, change their course, but that doesn't happen. They stay on course. So they refuse his request. He decides to force them to change their course. He tricks the Vagary. He has this device. It's like this gravitational device or this weapon of some sort that pulls the Outbound Flight Project into the pathway of the Vagary. And so they then are forced to fight. So that's interesting. Almost 50,000 members on the outbound flight. A lot of them were killed, and Thrawn was deeply saddened by this. So I thought that gave us some insight into Thrawn, and that he felt bad. He didn't think that was going to happen. That's not what he wanted, and what have you. So that gives us a little bit of insight in that. Then later on, Thrawn is exiled by his own people to an uninhabited world, and from there, much later on in the old canon, he's found by another commander out there, and he is then brought on with the Emperor. The Emperor remembers him from back in the day, and then he quickly ascends to Grand Admiral Thrawn. All right, we'll give you some of the backstory, or maybe some of the canon from some of the old canon, or the legend canon now, in another video. But I thought that sort of takes us up to where Rebels is, so I'm not really sure what they're going to do with that. Hopefully that information is still somewhat, true and accurate and relevant. And we'll kind of go from there. But I thought that was super cool. So something from day 2 that came out, and just some new news for us. And there you have it. All right, thanks.